Um, South Africa is a movie. We live in a drama. It's a series. Every day you will be shocked by something new.
I don't think enough people realize how dysfunctional it is for the average Nigerian to live in Nigeria. I'm going to give you a scenario, and this doesn't even represent the typical Nigerian, but just think about this for a second. So you wake up, right? And your room is hot, right? Because the AC does not work, because there's been no electricity for a while. And not just that, houses are made out of concrete. So because the sun has been beaming down for a little bit, now that concrete has absorbed that heat and is potentially dissipating the heat to where you are, right? Holding that heat, now you're hot, right? Like I said, you get up, there's no electricity. So now you want to go brush your teeth. Okay. Let me just turn on the tap real quick. Oh, there's no water coming out because the pump has stopped working because there's no electricity, or there's not been electricity maybe for days. So now even the borehole reserve that you dug for your own house to generate water for yourself has now run out because the reserve is done, right? The pump doesn't work, the reserve is done. Okay, well, you know what? You're feeling a little bit hungry, so you decide to go see if there's anything in the fridge. Oh, the food that was in the fridge that has now gone bad because, again, there's no electricity because the fridge hasn't been able to keep the food cool. Okay, well, maybe you can just go buy something off the street real quick. You use a kerosene stove to heat it up, right? Okay, but now, I want to take a shower. So what do? Oh, there's no water once again to take a shower, but you have to go to work. Oh, and some people have this thing called an inverter. An inverter is not meant to take heavy stuff, right? So let's even say you're able to get food or something, and let's say the food is a little bit cold and you want to warm it up. Turn on the microwave, right? So an inverter, what you can look at it as is like it's a battery it stores electricity so you can use it later when there's no electricity. But an inverter can't take a microwave, right? It's too high power for it. So maybe you want to iron your clothes before you go to work. Oh, well, you can't iron your clothes because an inverter can't do that either. Somehow, some way, you get yourself ready. Fine, cool, right? Now you got to go to work. The roads are messed up. You potentially get into an accident on the way. You see why sometimes, I might sit next to somebody and I'm like, dang, this person smells, man. I can't be mad at them. They probably didn't have water. Why are you so angry? What I just described was their whole life. And imagine the typical Nigerian doesn't have a lot of the things I just talked about. What do you now do in that situation? So sometimes you just have to say, I get it. I get why you're angry. And you just got to go from there.
Let me just be honest. You see, with this kind of mentality, I really don't believe that Nigeria is ever going to improve. And Nigerians are still going to run away from their country, going to other people's countries to become problems there. Even this man that's speaking, you can hear that he's Nigerian, but the accent is diluted, which simply means he's residing in a foreign country. So he's making this video trying to explain why it doesn't make sense for an average Nigerian to stay in Nigeria. But then, as I'm listening to this man as a South African, because Nigerians are a big problem here in South Africa, illegal Nigerians are a very big problem here in South Africa. So I've always been curious as to what are the reasons for these people to run away from their country and come to South Africa. What is it that is so special about South Africa? Now, listen to the kinds of excuses that this man is making. Are those reasons enough for you to run away from your country? As I'm listening to this man, everything that he's saying is something that is normal in most African countries. And I don't mean normal in a sense to say that it's a good thing. I'm just saying it's normal in most African countries, even here in South Africa. What he's saying here is my whole childhood. My whole childhood, even presently, sometimes I still go through the very same things that he's saying here. Waking up in the morning inside a very hot room without air conditioning. People, is that a reason for you to run away from Nigeria? I mean, There's some of us here in South Africa as black people who woke up inside shacks each and every morning. Do you know how hot a shack is during summer? And do you know how cold a shack is during winter? You are here telling us about concrete walls that dissipate the heat inside. And you can't live like that. So you would rather come to South Africa, or you would rather go to another country. There's people here in South Africa who wake up inside shacks, but they don't run away from South Africa. They try and fight for South Africa. As we speak currently, there's many people who woke up today inside shacks that are very, very cold, since it's winter right now, without air conditionings. Water. You're going to tell us about water, lack of water. Is that a reason enough for you to run away from Nigeria? You see, these are just useless excuses. Water. Sometimes here in South Africa, we go weeks without water in the townships. Weeks without water. Without any announcement, water just disappears. And we have to make plans on how we can get water. It's normal here in South Africa. It's normal. It's not something that is special to Nigeria that there's no water. There are places as we speak right now, there's no water here in South Africa. The people are striking. Some places have even given up. You know, some of the places they've been striking, now they are tired. They are no longer striking, but still there's no water. But they don't wake up every day, run away, go to other people's countries just because there's no water in South Africa. Electricity. We have a crisis of electricity here in South Africa. Look at load shedding. Look at load reduction. There are some places here in South Africa right now where they don't have electricity for over 24 hours because they are told that there's load reduction. There's many people in that area that are connected illegally. And people connected illegally because they can't afford the electricity. Not that we are promoting illegal connections, but we all know that people connected illegally because they don't have money. So they cut electricity for those people for 24 hours. And it's a norm. They know that, no, we don't have electricity in this area. I'm not saying all these things because I'm proud of these things. No, these are not things to be proud of. I'm just saying that these issues are not exclusive to Nigeria for them to use them as reasons to run away from their country. No. So all of these excuses that this man is saying here are just useless excuses. Tell me, if all of us here in Africa, in our individual countries, had this type of mentality, like Nigerians, because you might think it's this man that I stitched here who has this mentality, but I can tell you that most Nigerians have this kind of victim mentality. Most of them. So tell me, what would happen here in Africa if all of us suddenly had this kind of mentality? What would happen to Africa? If we were all just running around going to other people's countries because we are running away from the issues in our countries. Because the issues that he's mentioning here, I'm guessing those are the reasons why he ran away from Nigeria, going to other people's countries. You know, I'm guessing those are the reasons. We can also use the very same reasons as South Africans to run away from South Africa. The Kenyans can use the very same reasons to run away from Kenya. The Ghanaians can use the very same reasons to run away from Ghana. Majority of these countries here in Africa can use the very same reasons to run away from their countries. Now, if we all run away from our countries because of these reasons, what is going to happen to Africa? It means we are going to go to Asia, go to America, all these other countries in the West, Europe. We are just going to go to these countries and just leave Africa to rot. And leave Africa to rot. Yet these are the very same people who claim to love Africa. If you can listen to some Nigerians, mostly these ones that want to come together, let us come together as Africa, kill the borders. If you can listen to them, they sound as if they love Africa. But then they run away from their countries. That is why I'm so against this thing of one Africa, kill the borders, let us come together. It's just, when I listen to all these people who always say this nonsense, they are just sounding like hypocrites to me, because a person is failing to represent his smaller Nyana country, but then is out here trying to represent the whole of Africa. Does that even make sense? It doesn't make sense. Nigerians feel like victims in their own country to a point where they decide to run away because of just useless reasons. But they want the whole Africa to come together and form one giant country. We will never come together as Africa. How are we going to come together? We need to fix our mentality first, our mindsets. We need to be patriotic first in our own individual countries. Nigerians need to stop making these useless excuses and actually stay in Nigeria, fight for Nigeria, fight their corrupt leaders, try to make something out of Nigeria. South Africans should stay in South Africa, fight for South Africa, and try to make something out of South Africa. Zimbabweans should go back to Zimbabwe. Those that are here in South Africa, fight for Zimbabwe, try to make something out of Zimbabwe. And then when we can see that, okay, all these individual countries of ours here in Africa are functional, when we look at the economy of Nigeria, we can see that this economy is working. The people of Nigeria are living. When we look at Malawi, we can see that in Malawi, the Malawians, even though they are not doing better than Nigeria, but they are surviving. Our countries, you can see there's progress there, there's progress there, there's progress there. And then until a day when the majority of the countries here in Africa are self-sufficient, they are running their countries. I'm talking about countries. Is then we can come together and say that, you know what? How about we can try, maybe come together, form something that is going to represent us, or maybe one Africa, something like that. Then it makes sense. It makes sense. I can also be an advocate for that. It makes a lot of sense, because it means we have governments that know how to run their own individual countries. It means we have smart governments with smart leaders who are actually looking out for their countries and their people. Those leaders, when they come together, they'll be able to form a united Africa, because they know how to bring unity. They brought unity within their countries. You get what I'm saying? So it's going to be easy for them to come together and form a well-working one Africa. But then, if Nigerians still have this kind of mentality of running away from their country, and then all these other countries, they are still fighting everything that is going on here in Africa, are you telling me that if these leaders can come together right now and say, okay, let's try and form one Africa, what do you think is going to happen? Let us just use common sense. What do you think is going to happen? Imagine the president of Nigeria, Tinubu, here, who's always here trending for nonsense online with useless speeches. Yes, Nigerians, yes, we are hungry, but we know how to manage our hunger. Imagine a leader who speaks like that, a leader who can stand in front of hungry people, hungry citizens, and tell them that we know that we are hungry, but we can manage our hunger, instead of coming up with solutions. Imagine that kind of leader, along with Bo Ramaphosa, along with all these other leaders here in Africa, coming together right now saying they are trying to form a united Africa. Will that thing ever work? Just think about it. No, it won't. So Nigerians need to lose this kind of mentality of making useless excuses, of trying to act like victims. They need to go back to their country. Those that are here in South Africa illegally, need to go back to their country, fight for their country, and stop making useless excuses if they still like their country. And same goes for all these other illegal foreigners that are here in South Africa. They need to go back to their countries and fight for their country, fix their mentalities, because there's different types of mentalities. This one of playing victim is mostly used by Nigerians, but I can tell you that Zimbabweans have their own mentality. Malawians have their own mentality, have their own bunch of useless excuses that they use. So we need to make sure that we fix our mentalities. Let us have patriotic mindsets. I'm happy because us as South Africans, well, not all of us, but many of us here in South Africa, we love South Africa. We understand that we can't run away from South Africa. We have that mentality, and that is what I love about some of us South Africans, because we have this mentality to say that even if we wanted to run away from South Africa, where are we going to go? We don't think there's a country that is better than South Africa here in Africa, and these other countries that we think are better in the West and things like that, we just don't relate to them as much as South Africans. We just South Africans, and we love our country. It's fine if we go visit those countries or we go there for other reasons, but most of us, we believe that here in South Africa, you have an experience of the West and the experience of being African. So we don't really need to move a lot. We have that mentality. You get what I'm saying? And it's a good mentality. I would urge even these other African countries to adopt the same mentality. To say that, yes, we understand that there's other better countries out there, but then they won't be better than our country because our roots are here. We understand this country, and this country understands us. Yes, there are better countries, but this will always be the best country because it's our country. We need to cultivate that kind of mentality, and then we will see a lot of progress here in Africa. But as long as we have this kind of mentality, this playing victim mentality, we will never progress. That's just what I had in this episode of The Spotlight. So tell me on the comment section down below, what do you think about everything that I've been talking about and everything that Nigerian men said at the beginning. But if you just enjoyed this video or you learned something new, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel. I would really, really appreciate it. My name is Emmanuel, and this is Mzansi University, the place where we transform lives through knowledge and information. Let's meet again on another video.